The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Pat Scott. Hi, Pat.
Howdy. And
Father Andrew Kinstetter. Hi, Father Andrew.
Hello, hello.
So today we've got a couple very interesting segments that we always have interesting segments, but today especially, there's a lot of news. It's a lot of different things. A lot of it still has to do with, working from home and a lot of the stuff that we're all dealing with in life today. So that's just current events and relevant. But the first one segment that we have today is something that kind of surprised me when I got this. I got an email from Facebook. And it was a link to a page on their site offering a bunch of resources for faith communities that they could use in this time of, coronavirus, quarantine, and lockdown, and et cetera. And I was kind of surprised because for all the criticism that Facebook gets for being, hostile to traditional faith or whatever, politics and all that sort of stuff, this was kind of interesting. So did you both get a chance to look at this resource that they offered?
Yeah, I looked through it. It looked like they were really put some thought into it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really good tips here.
And it's fairly universal too. I mean, so it can be applicable, of course, to the Catholic Church, but any religious community out there it would benefit from this.
Right. So so they offer 6 steps that they have material on or information about. And the first one is to link to the CDC and the WHO, the World Health Organization. That's pretty good. And that's good because we want to make sure that even as faith communities, we're disseminating the correct information. There's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of baloney, and that's good. The second one is hey, here's how you could use your Facebook page to stay in touch with your community. Well, or actually all the different ways: page, your Facebook group, your email, your website, WhatsApp, Messenger, et cetera, and you can pin posts to the top of your Facebook page. You can mark Facebook group posts as announcements. These are all good tips that, for those of us who've been on Facebook for a long time, this is pretty self-evident to us. But especially for pastors or other pastoral associates who are kind of having to dig into this in depth in the first time, this could be news to them. So that's good. Then they offer the host worship, prayer, and study gatherings online. So going on how to go live on Facebook. I'm sure there's information in there. I didn't dig into it about turning the filters off so you don't get rotating filters while you're celebrating Mass.
Yep.
They talk about setting up a donate button for your videos, which is great. I think more parishes should do that. That would be especially nowadays. And then about creating a private group. So a public group for your church, for all your parishioners to join. You can also set up private groups. Like, say, if you don't use Slack, you could have a private Facebook group for members of Bible study or youth group or whatever. But do either of your parishes use Facebook groups in addition to a Facebook page?
We don't. I don't, as far as I'm aware of. Now, our pastor, who hasn't been here that long, has a background in being a nerd, so yeah, I'm sure that he will explore that at some point. But he has already said he planned on doing podcasts and things like that, and they are beginning to. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Once he settled in,
I think more parishes should think about setting up Facebook groups, because a Facebook page is great for one-to-many conversation from the parish outward, but a group is a many-to-many conversation, and it's a great way for parishioners to connect with each other, and even groups within the parish. So Bible study, choir, and group can be affiliated with pages. In fact, now that I think about it, SQPN could have a Facebook group affiliated with our Facebook page. That might be a nice way to get our listeners to connect with each other as well, the community to be connected. So that's a really good idea. So they have a whole bunch of different things you can check out here, and then you can go even further. They have like white pages for like a Faith on Facebook toolkit and getting started with groups thing. So I would definitely check that out. So yeah, it was a bit of a surprise, but it's nice to see.
A nice bit of news that's good.
Yeah. Exactly. So what do you all think? I'll throw this out there now that we're talking about this sort of thing. What do you think are ways we can improve our experience of the Triduum? As this releases, it'll be Holy Thursday. How can we improve our experience of the Triduum and Easter from home and being online using technology? Because we're all in this now. We're all using technology. Every Catholic is now using technology to experience these liturgies of the most important liturgies of the year. So what can we suggest to people to do? And what can parishes do for the people? So what do you think?
I would kind of throw out, I guess, two different directions. One, many parishes, and most likely your parish, is going to do some sort of a live stream. The cathedral here is we've been gearing up to do a live stream. We've never live streamed here before. So in fact, just the other day I was running Ethernet cable underneath the cathedral in the dirt to try to hook up to an access point. And we're going to be all set to go for tomorrow night. So obviously join in the live stream, unite your prayers in the same time frame as your parish. If your parish isn't live streaming it, there's churches all across the world live streaming. You could even join in on Rome as they are live streaming their Triduum services. So rather than watching a pre-recorded mass and liturgy throughout the entire 3 days of the Triduum, there's a certain benefit to uniting yourself at the exact moment that it's happening within your parish. So I would throw that out there, of course, as one awesome way to do it. And then the other kind of direction that I would take things is encourage people to be prepared beforehand. There are many places out there. I'm thinking Magnificat, right off the top of my head, has amazing free resources that you can download and print out, or even you can look them on your computer as well. But they have the readings, they have kind of they have directions on there if you're going to lead these liturgies within your family without a priest. So those are fantastic things to have in place kind of beforehand. And then I would encourage, even just during the Triduum itself, to get away from technology as much as you can.
Right.
To really enter into the Holy Thursday experience, the void that is, Good Friday, the crucifixion, and the Holy Saturday emptiness, and leading all to the resurrection. And if we, and with good reason, want to be on our phones, we often just forget about what's going on. And so I, do your best to use technology appropriately, but don't let it distract you from entering into the experience of the Triduum as well. And I'm saying that, to myself as well.
Of course.
I've been on social media way more in the last 2 weeks than I think, in the last month. So it's something that's trying to suck even my own kind of spiritual engagement. So that's kind of where I would take things.
I like that. So, you're going to be engaged with the liturgies probably via technology. So make it a point to, when you're not doing that, to put the technology down and to enter into prayerful silence. Otherwise, I like that idea. Pat, what do you think? What are some ways we can?
Well, each of us has screens that we're using, but I know Randy and I have been live casting or what I'm trying to think, the Apple TV thing where you can cast it up to there. AirPlay, thank you. My mind just went blank. To AirPlay the Mass and now the rest of the Triduum together, so it's like we are in the pew, we're just not at the church. And I know that you said that your kids followed along with the responses and the stand up and the sit down, and that type of thing viscerally, I think, adds to the experience of just not up here in your head.
Yep.
And so that's something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's so many meditations, reflections. There's so many good Catholic websites out there that during, a time when you're not actually watching the Triduum, and yes, I agree, you should be taking a lot of time for downtime, but there are a lot of nourishing resources that are online to help you with spiritual reading and meditations at other times too.
Yeah.
So
I would suggest going to your diocese website or your parish's website, but I'm going to bet most dioceses have resources that they're linking for people to download related to the liturgies and prayerful experiences of the Triduum and Easter. I know mine has a bunch of stuff. There are going to be live streamed liturgies in the Archdiocese of Boston. We're going to have Cardinal Sean is going to be live streaming Holy Thursday. They're probably doing Tenebrae tonight, which is one of the services he likes to do on Spy Wednesday or Good Wednesday, however you want to call it.
Yeah, we did ours last night.
Yeah, which is it's an experience in and of itself, even in a normal year. So this, like right now, it's even. I can imagine how much
Haunting.
more stark that would be. Yeah. So and then they'll live stream Good Friday and in Easter Vigil, and in Boston, one of the main network affiliates is going to air the Mass from the cathedral live Sunday morning, which they never do. That's unusual, and I think it says there's a bit of a interest and a hunger and a desire out there that's growing, which I think is really awesome, and that I think that's really cool. So those two things, so check out those. So one of the ways that we're kind of disconnecting, my family is on Good Friday, we're going to do Stations of the Cross ourselves. We're going to gather around in our living room probably, and we'll do a service of the stations, and we'll have a veneration of the cross. On Holy Saturday at the Easter Vigil, before we watch the Vigil Mass, I'm going to try this. It depends a bit on the weather, but I think we're going to do a little lighting of the Easter fire in a little fire pit in the backyard, if we can. If we get some candles and turn on all the lights in the house and that sort of thing. It also kind of depends on whether my neighbor behind us turns off their floodlight and their dogs are out. that might put a damper on things. But regardless, but these are ways to kind of counterpoint the technology and get it going offline as well, and still making holy. And I tell you, one thing we're doing that's technology related on Easter Sunday is we're going to be having some family Zoom or FaceTime or whatever we can manage. Pat, with your family, with the Scotts, yes. And then with my family, even though my family's close by, we're all social distancing because my parents are quite elderly and we don't want to expose them too much. So we're all going to try to do that on Sunday afternoon. And that would be a great way for families to get together when they otherwise can't. So that's a recommendation.
Yeah, I know my brother had a spaghetti dinner for all of his family last weekend, where there were 4 different locations around the country, and they all cooked spaghetti and then sat down and ate it together with a Zoom.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they said they had their wine, and
that is
just
fun.
Was great.
That is a great idea. Okay, that's good. I think those are some good suggestions. I hope people have a beautiful experience of the Triduum and an Easter, and make it as holy as you can. Oh, one last thing I was going to say. If you have an Apple TV, if you have a Chromecast or a Fire TV, try to put the live stream on the biggest screen you have. Don't try to watch it on a phone or a little laptop or tablet. If you can, get it on the biggest screen and make it much more of that experience, that cinematic in a sense.
And I mean, remember, Pat, you made the comment that you're going to be, standing and sitting and kneeling at the right times. We are, as human beings, we're body and soul. So what we do physically helps us spiritually and vice versa. So yes. To model that rather than just, kicking back in the lazy boy and watching the service, to unite yourself in a physical posture is super helpful to dim the lights, to light a candle, to set up your space in such a way that it's conducive to that in a physical sense. You're not just sitting down to watch a sports broadcast,
right?
But so that those are just practical things too to keep in mind.
Definitely, those are all good. All right, so let's move on to our next segment. This one is I'm going to call this segment every week. It's going to be the "Are we entering dystopia?" segment. So
the answer is yes.
Yeah. So the question is the situation is more and more governments and technology companies are working together to share our tracking information in order to see who's infected and who's infecting whom. This is really the question. And some countries, their protections for privacy are lower than ours, but yet, in the U.S. here or Europe, even more so. But even there's some of those things. So just to mention two stories right off the bat, Moscow. Hey, Moscow. Speaking of dystopian situations, Moscow is launching a new surveillance app to track residents in Corona lockdown. That's the headline from NPR. And they're rolling out new tools, social monitoring tools, digital ones for phones that people will be required. It's a mandatory app they'll be required to have on their phone that will track where you go, who you come in contact with, what you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. And they're pretty locked down. In fact, it's very similar to what China did. Surprise, surprise. Residents in Moscow will be required to have a government-issued QR code that gets scanned when they go into businesses and other places. They have to present them to police when requested. So very, very scary. And who knows if my guess is when this is all over, that it isn't going away. Just gonna say that right off the bat. But Google is already saying that they're releasing our location data. They collect location data not just from Android phones, but if you have Google Maps on your iPhone, you still have data. And they're going to release what data they have anonymized, they say, to track people's movements during the pandemic, so that public health officials can keep track of where there are big gatherings and there's potential for new outbreaks and that sort of thing. So what do you think? Is this trouble? Is this, necessary now, but we have to be vigilant to roll it back later? What do you think about this? If you can turn this off I'm going to guess that in the U.S. we'll still have the option to turn off some of this tracking, at least for now. Would you turn it off, or are you okay with it being anonymously connected? What do you think?
Well, I definitely resist that first story that you talked about.
Yes,
being forced into this. I think just as an American and valuing that the freedom and the privacy that we enjoy, I think that is incredibly problematic. As for the Google thing, I guess I'm not sure what to think about it, because I think I'm already okay with it to some degree, because or at least, the moment you buy a smartphone, you sort of already know that you're releasing some of your freedoms in that realm.
Right.
Even things like just seeing the traffic data on your Google Maps or the Apple Maps, you can, I know that it's using my own phone's GPS location to figure out whether I'm in a traffic congestion area or not.
Right.
And so I know that I'm already okay with that. So I think if for me personally, if we had the guarantee that it's completely anonymous and there was a way to opt out of it, I think I'm okay with it.
Right.
I guess as long as they're I'm still trying to, I guess if I really have an issue with it, then I shouldn't have a smartphone.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Pat, what do you think?
I'm kind of the same way. I figure that I've given up a lot of my privacy a long time ago. But, if they're saying it's anonymized, I'm going to try to say that I believe that they're in good faith on this. The first story, no, I don't think that they're going to be anonymous, and it could be turned to misuse later on. I guess I'm hoping to be as optimistic as I can be without saying I'm a Pollyanna that doesn't see any risks down the road. But I think for health purposes, I think this may be necessary for right now. an anonymous information to say, okay, where are there, here's a concentration of cases. This is the movement in and out of that area, and that can help spot some trends and help spot some, where do we need to beef up the next defenses.
Right. I was reading another story about South Korea, and one of the things they're doing is when you come into the country right now, you have to, at the airport, you're required to download an app to your phone. You're required to register where you're going to be staying in self-quarantine. And that app, you have to give it permission to track your location. And they'll keep up on you. They're going to make sure you're not violating that self-quarantine. And they also, like, you walk through, you get your thing, they do this orientation, they pass you along, they take you out, they take you to a special place where the government provides transportation, special transportation, because you may be infected, and and they give you a kit with a temperature swab, and they take a swab, they test you, you'll get the test results back on the phone app and all this other stuff, and it's like, well, I kind of swing between, well, that's kind of good, but that's also kind of bad, and that's kind of good, and it's one of those situations where as long as everybody is doing things for the right reason, it's fine. It's as soon as someone else decides, what we could do with this, that's where the problem is. It's not the good people who have the good intentions that are the problem. It's the bad people who say, we could take this thing that's been done for good and use it for evil, and that's where I have my concerns. But
we don't live in the Garden of Eden anymore.
That's right.
I wish we did, because then we wouldn't have to suspect anybody's ulterior motives. But we live in a world that is unfortunately
politicians.
Broken.
I mean, yes.
On the other hand, I don't like the idea of being suspect of everything and just assuming paranoia running rampant and withholding information where it might be helpful.
Right.
That's also true.
Yep.
Right. These are unprecedented times. We've heard that word used a lot, but really it is. These are unprecedented times where the old categories and the old concerns not are swept aside, but are modified.
They shift.
Yes,
they're shifting
because there are
We've
new
got
things.
Sand underneath our feet.
Yes, no one's out there, saying this is an extinction level possibility, but this could be, like, if we haven't taken the precautions we have, this could have been really bad, and it still could be. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, so let's move on to some other headlines we have. I want to talk about. So the first one we have is this has nothing to do with coronavirus. So we'll take a quick break from coronavirus worries and concerns. This is about Amazon, and if you have the Amazon Prime Video, if you're an Amazon Prime member, and you have an iPhone, an iPad, and Apple TV, you might not have noticed. In fact, I didn't realize it when this first came up to me. But now you can actually buy and rent TV shows and movies in the app on your Apple device. You don't have to go to the website anymore. Hallelujah. I'm sorry.
Yay.
No, we're not. It's not Easter Sunday yet. I'm sorry. I violated the Hallelujah ban.
Hallelujahs.
But I kind of want to say it because wow, it's so much. That was such a hassle to have to route outward to a laptop or to the app on my phone, the separate app, and it was just a pain in the neck. So have you tried this? Have you rented?
Oh yeah.
How did it go for you? What's the process like?
It was pretty easy. It's pretty much like the Apple one. I want it, click, here it is, and now you can set it up with a pin on your account too.
Yeah.
To say so that your child won't be renting movies unbeknownst to you. And like I used a variant of something that one in the household would know what it is,
right,
but no one outside would.
Yeah, I ended up having it required me to put a pin in as far as I knew, but that might be because I have minors on my account. I have a household account, and I have children on it, so that might be why it felt like a requirement. It didn't seem like I had an option, but it was it was easy to do.
And that may be true too. I set a pin on my account a long time ago for the Amazon Prime app, so that I could control who. I mean, if I wanted to, I could control who watched what. But,
okay.
Yeah. So this was not that big a deal. So.
And it was really easy to set. Amazon.com/pin was where where you set the pin. So that was really good. How about you, Father?
So I've never actually tried to rent or anything from Amazon Prime. So I had this news story did nothing for me.
I'm sorry.
Except for this must have been included in this as well. So actually in the past just 2 minutes what I did, Audible is doing the same thing now. So and that's part of
sense.
Amazon.
Yes.
So I pulled up my Audible app and just used one of my credits to purchase The Rise of Skywalker Expanded Edition from the app.
Yay.
That is where I've had the convenience issues of wanting to get a new audiobook, having to go to the website, buy it, and then it shows up on my app. So
Same thing with Kindle books.
Oh.
I would assume so.
Yes,
So
the Kindle books would be that way too. Yeah.
Yep. So for me, it was more of Audible is going to be where I find that convenience factor, not in renting a movie. So
now the interesting thing is the reason that you haven't been able to do it before on Apple devices, whereas you've been able to do it on Android, is because Apple takes 30% of in-app purchases, and Amazon was not willing to give up its 30%. So I'm not sure what's changed. My guess is Apple and Amazon have come to some sort of agreement where Apple has cut the fee. There used to be at odds. I remember when you couldn't get the Amazon app on the Apple TV and everything else was there. And that was I hated that. I was like, this because there was so much I wanted to watch on the Amazon app, and finally, like Doctor Who, that was on there, and so finally we got it there. So I think there's a détente where we're finally getting along, and the needs of the consumers is outweighing the needs of the big corporations, and that's nice to see. So I'm very happy to see that. So let's go back to some more virus programming, virus-related headlines. This is only slightly virus-related. This is more lockdown-related. Zoom is listening to a lot of the criticism, and they're adding a bunch of new security and privacy measures to prevent Zoom bombing. I mentioned last time that there were passwords and waiting rooms available in Zoom meetings, but they were off by default. And I was saying they should be on by default, and that's what they're doing is they're turning those on by default. So that's good. That way, if someone shares a Zoom meeting link on social media or somewhere in the clear, what happened was anyone could click to join that meeting and do all kinds of immature, childish, or nefarious stuff. So it's good to have that. And it was announced that by the Zoom CEO that they're setting aside all other work. They're not adding features or anything like that. They're concentrating completely on reliability and privacy and safety. So that's good to hear. Have either of you noticed any of these changes? Have you done much Zooming?
Yes, I have been. I've been helping people learn how to Zoom this week. And the first meeting we set up, immediately it required a password, and it required the administrator to be able to allow people into the waiting room from the waiting room or not.
Oh, good.
And so that I saw immediately was a big step. I didn't notice whether they had it by default that only the moderator could share their screen. That was one of the big problems before. But if you're keeping those people out altogether, that shouldn't be as big of a problem.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I remember reading was that Zoom had a problem with leaking too much data to Facebook before,
right.
And they have said they cut that.
Yes.
So that was the other thing that I was very impressed, in fact, how quickly they responded, and that system has not been overloaded with the amount of growth it's done. I kept expecting it to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't get in there right now." I have never had a problem.
Yeah,
getting in. It may be a little bit slower, but it's nothing like being down.
Yeah, even with Skype, which historically has creaked like an old sailing vessel at times in the past. I mean, it has not been perfect, but it's no worse than it's been, and that's impressive. I got to say, all of these communications companies, I got to say right now they're pretty much the rock stars of this whole lockdown situation. They have all done outstanding work given the circumstances, and I got to applaud them all, from Slack to Zoom to Skype to all of them.
And the backbone carriers, the Comcast and those. I mean, we could have had a terrible overload of the system.
Yep. Akamai and all of these companies and Amazon, who provides the servers for a lot of the stuff that runs on their servers too. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All of these. I mean, granted, it's not like there's a lot. I mean, well, there is new traffic because people are videoing instead of seeing each other face to face. So there is a lot more of that. That's true. Yeah. That's true.
It's a huge amount of data.
Yeah, that is true. There is a lot more data rolling around out there.
Yeah, I didn't know Zoom even existed 3 weeks ago, and I've been on more Zoom calls in the last 3 weeks than, we've been having at least 1 or 2 a week.
Yeah.
So
Zoom has not only become a verb already in everybody's vocabulary, it's become a generic verb, like Kleenex, you know what I mean? Or aspirin. Zoom me later on Google Meet or Zoom me later on Skype. It's like, it's amazing how quickly these things can enter into the consciousness and just become part of the vocabulary for everyone.
But I also just want to throw this out there. This is completely an aside. It's been a phenomenal tool to connect with the people throughout the diocese. But also, we're going to be using it to meet as a parish council next week.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
There are some out there who are using it to host prayer meetings, praying the liturgy of the hours, Bible studies. So it's not just a businessy kind of tool.
Yeah.
My younger brother is using it for speech therapy.
Awesome.
So like there is a plethora of uses for this, not just business related.
Yeah, in fact, I've been involved with. So I'm involved with scouting. I recently became a merit badge counselor, and because we can't meet with kids, the local council is spearheading an effort where we're going to use Google Classroom and Google Meet to have merit badge classes online using those tools. I'm not sure. I can figure it out. I've never done merit badge counseling before, so I'm going to be like double diving in as a novice. But we'll see how it goes. But it'll be interesting to see, and it's just really refreshing to see we're all innovating in these uses, and really people adapt and they innovate and they get into it, and it's really fantastic to see.
And I'm hoping that will continue on too, where people will continue to have things where they might not have bothered to go to a meeting, but they can do this.
Yes.
That would be really nice if people continue to keep this camaraderie going.
And I would just like to say that it makes me proud for humanity too, because we often use technology to isolate and distract ourselves, and I have seen so many people come together through technology that it's just it's heartwarming, and it's amazing to see how we're adapting and how we're still trying to stay connected, and how technology is able to do that and help us out.
And a quick tangent, because you remind me of something. I would love it if after all this is done, people continue to work from home a lot more, because what I've seen is with people not having to go drive to an office and spend an hour in traffic in the morning and then an hour in the evening and be away from home, I see more people walking with their kids in our neighborhood than I've ever seen before. It is amazing, and I love the idea of families they're keeping their distance and all, but families getting out and being together and being. I feel more connected to the people in my neighborhood now that we're social distancing than I ever did before. I live in a typical suburban, neighborhood outside of a big city, and it's just very distant. And this is bringing people together. It's amazing. So I agree.
I have some good friends. In fact, it's my goddaughter is about 6 months old. Her dad is now working from home. And a totally random, and this is probably maybe not applicable to everybody, but he told me that he's more productive working from home,
right?
Because he doesn't have the random people stopping by to chit chat or anything. But then he also is able to be there when 6-month-old Gianna, needs something, or mom, needs something. So there's definitely a lot of merit to that. And
yes,
on the flip side, I wouldn't want to get rid of coming into the workplace, entirely either.
Well, I know that one of my sons, whose job is remote to begin with, he has said the company has really eased up on a lot of the things. Like, it used to be you're at home, you're in a dedicated space, you don't take time out unless you clear it with us. And now it's like, okay, we understand. You're home with your family. If you've got to go out for something or you've got to jump up to take care, it's okay.
Right.
And that's what I would like to see perpetuated. Yeah.
Well, now that the bosses are doing it, they can see, oh yeah, that is what we can do. Yeah, it is awesome. And it's amazing how good things like this can arise out of such a bad thing, but it's good to see the bright parts of it. Mm-hmm. So another fun way to watch humanity do cool things is now that college campuses are closed, the students are rebuilding their schools in Minecraft. So they're building, they're putting up all the buildings. They have the mascots. The whole campus is there, so they can gather together in virtually in Minecraft. I think that's kind of fun. I like that. It's such a of that generation sort of thing to do. I have to say,
that is cool.
And it's funny. We all thought like Second Life, these virtual worlds that other companies would build for us, would be the thing that would bring us into these cyber worlds or virtual worlds. But it turns out it was like Minecraft was never meant to be a virtual world in that sense, but it's sort of organically developed into that. It's really kind of neat. I like that idea. And some of these places that they've built, like Boston University, University of Washington, MIT, of course, and these other ones, they look really good. I mean, they're really detailed. And it shows, I think, how much a lot of these students, are dealing with the grief of losing that part of their life in a productive way. So in a creative way. I love that.
And it keeps them interacting with each other too. I was reading that article that you posted, and they're able to kind of keep in touch with the classmates that they maybe didn't have a chance to say goodbye to as they had to go home. And so it's a communal thing. It's not just I'm off in my own world creating this, but it's a shared virtual world.
Right. This is true. Yeah. It's not isolating. With technology, we're all afraid of technology isolating us, but this is one of the ways that technology brings people together they are truly meaningful ways, even if we're not present in the same room physically. So really awesome. Another one, here's important. This is tinfoil hats back on again. YouTube is going to be reducing the amount of content spreading conspiracy theories, these crazy theories that link the new 5G phone technology to the coronavirus. I don't understand why people think that these are related, except that 5G is something new coming out of China, and they may have heard a story, something about Chinese companies. Maybe like there was a whole thing about the president worrying that Huawei, which is a Chinese-owned company, they're responsible for a lot of the background, the backbone of 5G, that they could insert backdoors into it and spy on it, which is a valid concern. But then connected with the fact that the virus came out of China, and somehow they're like, and people actually burned a 5G tower somewhere. Like, come on. So I'm happy that in one sense that YouTube is limiting what they're doing is that I don't know, they're not actually taking the videos down that claim these conspiracy theories, but they're limiting how easy it is to find them in searches, which is a double-edged sword, because sometimes there are legitimate, say, debunking videos that get affected because the stuff is all automated in algorithms. But also sometimes you want to find out what people are saying. You need to know that. And I'll give you an example. When Jimmy Akin was doing an episode of his podcast, Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World, on flat Earth theory, he had a really difficult time finding what flat earthers have to say for themselves, so that, to let them speak for themselves, because YouTube was suppressing their videos. So double-edged sword. But I think in general. So what do you think? Have you heard any of these weird conspiracies about 5G? And
not until you published or I saw the news stories. All I can think of is there is a certain segment of the population that they can't distinguish between a computer virus and a human virus.
This is true.
And I think that's, back in the first days of programming and stuff like that, I had, people making that weird connection.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's just something there.
There's always been fear of technology. Yeah, that's been a big part of it.
I think a lot of these things are just even fueled by fear of the unknown. I haven't heard this particular conspiracy theory, but I've heard other conspiracy theories on this. And kind of just shake my head. I mean, you can take it to a level that's paranoia.
Right.
Oh, what have you heard? I haven't heard these other ones, Father.
Oh, I've seen some of them.
It's a population control method because it's targeting the elderly.
Yeah, kill the elderly.
And the poor.
Yeah.
Right. So like you can just take that to a level that's unhealthy.
Right.
But take it with a grain of salt.
Yes.
Come on.
So just keep that in mind. I'm glad to see that they're taking some action anyway to limit the spread of that stuff. Another one, Pat, you brought this one to my attention, is Android Police, which is a Android focused blog. They are recommending that if you're in lockdown and you're looking for a tablet to use, don't buy an Android tablet, buy an iPad. Which, frankly,
I was really thought that was funny.
Yeah, I mean,
they gave a lot of good reasons for it too. They really went through and gave some good, solid reasons.
Yeah, I mean, they said while the same, all the major apps are on both platforms, iPad apps are better. There are more of them. It's as an Apple user for a long time, Apple user of decades, it's in a very weird position to be in for someone to be saying, "Oh yes, the Apple platform has more and better apps." I'm like, really? That's never been a thing I've felt before.
Well, that's on tablets. They're not saying that about the main computers,
not
yet.
Windows or anything. But yeah, for tablet apps, they have more, the better. They said updates is a good one because Android is notorious for updates to the operating system not rolling out consistently and it being somewhat limited by the hardware manufacturers rolling them out to the users. Whereas Apple is very good about getting new updates out. Sometimes a little too often because I feel like there was a time last fall I felt like I was updating my phone and my iPad every 2 or 3 days, which was a little much. But in general, I mean, they get them out there, especially with security updates, and it's easy to do, and that's good. And they like the hardware, which it's hard to agree. I mean, the screens are beautiful. The Apple Pencil, if you get one that's capable of using Apple Pencil, is awesome. And apart from the Pros, which are expensive, the base models are fairly inexpensive comparatively to other things, relatively.
Yeah, $329 and $429 for the non-cellular ones, and depending upon how much memory, that the $329 is a great spot for entry level on that.
Right,
and it takes the pencil; it can use it.
Yes, and they last forever. Really, I mean, I've got some iPad 2s still bopping around in my house that the kids use. It's just. They last forever, as long as you don't break the screens, which we've done a couple times. So, but those are expensive to repair. So get a good case for your iPad if your kids are going to be using it. But yeah, I agree. And for consumption, but also for creation. If you draw, if you want to, or if you use it as a kind of computer with a keyboard. I mean, especially now that they have trackpad and mouse support, it's really up
Take
there.
It off, yeah.
Yeah. I think back to the days when just before they introduced it, where everyone was saying, "Why doesn't Apple have the what do they call those mini laptops that they had at the time?"
Netbooks.
Netbooks. Oh,
those awful things.
Apple must put out a netbook. They're falling behind. Yeah. How many netbooks are out there now?
Yeah.
Well, they're supplanted by Chromebooks.
Yes. Well, the Chromebooks
which are better.
There. Yes.
Which are better, but they're still not all the way up there.
Yes. And my daughter has a Chromebook, so I'm not going to completely knock it.
No, and I've got one also. Yeah. It's just that you run up against limitations.
It definitely does.
That you don't expect.
Yes, definitely does have limitations. All right, here's one that this is my cranky old man headline. I'm just going to be that cranky man. I don't get Quibi. I don't understand. And I may not just be a cranky old man. I think it might actually be the Hollywood doesn't get us, the rest of us. But Quibi, in case you've missed the plethora of ads everywhere for it, it's a new streaming video service that's different from other ones in that it's the shows that it produces are designed to be short episodes. And by short, I mean 5, 10, or 15-minute episodes. And so, like one of their flagship ones is this. I don't know. It's like a plane crash one, starring the actress from Game of Thrones, Sophie Turner. I think it's Sophie Turner, and and I don't want to watch a drama in 10 minutes a day. Just as I'm getting into it, it's tune in tomorrow. I'm like, no, and yeah. So what do you guys think? Do you get Quibi? Is it something you think?
Well, it sounds like this is pitched at the distraction-oriented younger set that only likes to take things in very small chunks. Now, there is a series that I've liked on YouTube that's, let me see, all of a sudden I just can't remember, Dust. It's science fiction in about 10 to 15-minute segments. They're little stories.
Okay.
I've enjoyed them.
Okay.
But I wouldn't want to tell a whole novel in that or a whole story. They're
series,
intended to be like short stories.
Okay.
And so I can understand that part, but trying to make a series out of it? No, I can't see that.
And it's $5 a month, so the same amount of money you pay for Disney Plus, and it has ads.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. No, there's no way I'm going to do that.
Yes.
I quibble with it. Yes.
You quibble with Quibi. Father, what do you think?
So I'll be completely honest. I had no idea what it was until I clicked that link. And I think I guess I don't mind a 15-minute thing. I've enjoyed some YouTube series that are kind of that way too, but I think I also I guess grew up with hour-long episode arcs, and I very much prefer those. So I'm totally with you there, Dom. But what I found completely baffling about this, and I wasn't sure if it was part of the gimmick, is that you're supposed to watch this on your phone, and you can watch it in landscape or portrait mode.
Right.
Which
and it looks
I found
bizarre. Yeah.
And they were making the point that because you have to watch, and like it's a seamless transition if you turn it from portrait to landscape, but and supposedly that, I don't know, helps your experience of it, but because of that you can't stream it to a TV screen. You can't.
Right. You
have to watch it on your phone. And even if I'm watching YouTube videos, even if I'm watching a 6-minute YouTube video, and if I'm near my TV, I will AirPlay it to the TV.
Yeah.
And like, so I wasn't at all a fan or understood why the portrait landscape transition was so important, because if you turn it to portrait, there's so much landscape that you're losing. Yeah. I've been watching Star Trek Voyager on CBS All Access.
Of course.
And yes, I am too. Yay.
And one of the things that I had just forgotten about until I started watching again is that it was filmed before they had widescreen
4:3,
the widescreen format.
Yeah.
So like even the black bars on the left and the right, I'm feeling like I'm missing what should be there. So
well, yeah, I remember as a kid when they'd put movies on TV, like some movies are filmed in the widescreen format, even when I was a kid, and then the TVs were square when I was, at home. And when they'd show them on TV, they would do pan and scan, whereas they'd crop out. They wouldn't be black bars. They'd crop out and the camera would move around in the scene. And I'm like, why do we want to go back to that? The minimum size I'm going to look at YouTube on, really, if I've got a choice, is my iPad. I mean, I watch a lot of of YouTube videos on my iPad. I watch a YouTube video on my phone if I'm, outside, or, if that's the only thing I have with me. But
in the doctor's office or something.
But I certainly don't prefer it, and that's not. It's just, I don't get Quibi, and I don't think anybody else will. It's my prediction.
Maybe it's like the like Pat was mentioning. It's the Snapchat of this generation. Like I don't get that either.
I guess. Although I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure anybody else is getting Snapchat right now. As far as I can tell, Snapchat has sort of declined in popularity. But in any case, so that's those are our headlines. So let's move to our picks of the week. We got some great picks of the week. I want to make sure we get in and we share with folks. Father Richard, I'm going to ask you to go first. What's your pick this week?
So my pick of the week is a website called The Great Courses.
Yes.
And so this is something that this quarantine time has had me reflecting more that I want to get back into it, because I have basically it's a portal to over 700 college courses in video and audio format. So they're not free, unfortunately, but there are some that are fairly inexpensive. $40 or so for some of these courses. Often they will have sales where they will be decreased dramatically in price, so you can get on board with them. And they offer college level courses from all sorts of fields, from your typical math and sciences to music to religion to history. There's one that I've been wanting to try to get into. It's called the Everyday Gourmet, where it's lessons on cooking and how to the flavors and your palettes and all this. It's a lot of really cool things. So if you're as they call it, if you're a lifelong learner, this is a cool thing to do. You can stream these if you purchase them, or you can buy DVDs. And you can learn a new skill, or learn about astronomy, or learn physics, or American Revolution, wherever you want to go. Yep. There's so many different options. So as we're in this quarantine time, it might be fun to pick up a new skill or learn something interesting.
And there's a lot of there's a lot of religion and philosophy courses. Yep. There's a course on how to learn biblical Hebrew. That's your thing. Yeah. And in fact, like I mentioned Jimmy Aiken already, on Mysterious World, he recommends a bunch of great courses as resources for some of the topics he does. Their Egyptology stuff is top notch. My wife, Melanie, has been listening to one on languages, on linguistics, just where does language come from? Where was it? By John McWhorter, Understanding Linguistics, the Science of Language. I think it's that one. It might be that or The Story of Human Language. One of those two. It's fantastic. It comes from, I think, must have been some lectures, like a class he gave, but he's engaging. He's funny. It's not highfalutin and over your head. It's a lot of fun. Very interesting. I totally agree. And they have a ton on sale right now, by the way. Yeah. So it is great. And then they have a Great Courses Plus, which is a streaming service, and there's a whole bunch of different things to get into it. Yeah. Great pick. Pat, what's your pick this week?
Well, for years I've been having the headphones with a little wire because it's easy to plug in and all that. And I was with my brother, and he was showing me his Bose noise canceling headsets, the quiet comfort one. And they're so lightweight, and they're so easy on the ears, and they're easy to set up and use. And it means I can be listening to something and get up and walk around and go get something. And it's just like, it's freeing. I didn't remember how freeing it was, because I've got some of the little earbuds and everything else, but these are just so nice around the ear and lightweight, and my ears don't get tired. And so I've really enjoyed them. And for right now, they've got a special, and I've had it for about a month now, where you can get the rose gold at $100 less than the rest under the normal price, if you don't mind rose gold. And I figured nobody's watching me use these things, so I'm not going to be anybody giving me a hard time about having pink headphones.
Well, one thing is no one's going to steal them because they'll stand out.
That's right.
Those are my headphones.
And you can pair it if you want to with either Google Assistant or Alexa. And I'm not, maybe even Siri. I've forgotten because I've been playing with the different ones.
Yep.
And it's there. You can have two items connected at one time, so I can have both my iPad and my iPhone, or I can have my computer. Right now is there's another place I'm using it, my computer and my phone, and then you can disconnect one and connect the other a lot more easily than I have some of my other devices. Some of the other devices won't let go when I try to disconnect them, and this one seems to be very polite.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, and the range is a lot further than some of my other little Bluetooth earbuds and stuff that I had.
And I've heard that they have the best noise canceling of anything out there.
Yes, they're very good. Now, the only disappointment is that I tried to use them to do some things with a microphone, to use my phone as a speaker for that.
Yeah.
And that's not as good with the microphone on this model. Now, I think there are other models that it may be better, which is maybe why they're on sale.
Okay.
But, most of the time I'm using them for consuming, not for answering the call on my phone. And I can answer the call on my phone. I just have to talk a little louder.
Okay. Well, as we say on Laudate Sunday and Gaudete Sunday, real men wear rose. So,
yes.
Rose is an appropriate color for real men. So, so any guy out there who's worried about rose gold headphones, you're in good company. All right. So I have two things I want to mention. My first is I want to mention a YouTube video as a sort of a tip from Smarter Everyday. Destin, it's the Smarter Everyday YouTube channel. He's a huge YouTuber. He's got like 8 million subscribers. He's a maker, a tech guy. He's a sciencey guy. Great attitude. Christian, although not in your face about it, but I like he's got a little Reaper cheap mouse with a verse at the end of every video. Wow. So I like that. But he has a great video right now, which is titled "How to Help Your Hospital Fight COVID-19 Locally," and it's all about geeky, nerdy tech maker type people banding together locally to help your local hospitals and medical facilities for providing things they need. So one thing, he lives in Huntsville, Alabama. They're not on anybody's top list of providing extra, personal protective equipment to hospitals, that sort of things, like from the government. So they got together with a bunch of people with 3D printers, and they're making the face masks. But you can't just make face masks and drop them off. They have to be properly sterilized and assembled. And so he goes through this video how they kind of created this process, and they've open sourced it so anyone can recreate what they've done for organizing people to do this sort of stuff and getting people of all different skills together, and not just making stuff and foisting it on the hospitals, but working with the hospitals. What do you need from us? And he's trying to get people all over the country in their local communities to work together to do this. So check out this video. It's very interesting. Think of what you could do. Frankly, I'm kind of thinking maybe I should have a 3D printer, given how much 3D printers have been contributing to helping in this. So, which is really neat. So, check that out. I'll have a link in the show notes to that, or you can look for Smarter Everyday on YouTube. My regular pick is something I recently got, since we're all Zooming now, and you may not like the view that your laptop gives, your laptop webcam, or even your big computer's webcam if it has one. The angles are not always ideal. They're not eye level, so you're kind of looking up, or people looking up your nose while you're communicating via video. So I looked, and I found the InnoGear webcam stand. I found it on Amazon, and what it is it's got a heavy base, like a microphone stand, like a desktop stand. It's got a telescoping neck, so you can raise it up and down, and it's got a gooseneck so that you can bend it. So that with a standard camera mount, like the little screw mount at the top that most webcams have on it. So I have a Logitech webcam, and it screws right into the base of it. And so I've got it exactly at eye level now. And now I can stand it like sort of in front of my monitor a little bit, so that I'm looking directly at the people I'm talking to when I'm doing a webcam or video live stream, instead of looking down or some weird angle. So, and it's not that expensive. It was $17. And so if you find you're doing a lot of this lately, or you want to do more of it, if priests are going to be live streaming masses, I've seen a lot of masses live stream for like I'm an ant standing on the altar. You do what you can with what you got. I know, but this is a way to kind of take it one step up and get something a little better for you, and it's not that expensive. So just want to recommend checking that out. Awesome. So a lot of great picks, a lot of great conversation. I thank you both for that. As we wrap things up, I do want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create Secrets of Technology, including this week Stuart, Daryl, William, Jeremy, and Joanne. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So if you have anything you want to contribute to this discussion, you have any response or feedback, we'd love to receive it. You can comment on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the SQPN Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Soon to have a Facebook group, maybe. Check it out. Yay. Or send us an email to technology@sqpn.com. And you'll find links to everything we talked about, the headlines and the picks of the week, on our show notes at sqpn.com. Please remember to like each episode of Secrets of Tech on Facebook, retweet it on Twitter where we're at SQPN, and leave comments. That all helps us goose that social media algorithm and get out in front of more folks. So until next time, Father Andrew Kinstetter, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Absolutely, and have a blessed Triduum.
Thank you. Pat Scott, thank you as well.
Adios from Texas.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.